Hey guys, welcome. Just turn off my microphone. There, microphone is back on. Okay, I am running a few minutes late. I am a swim team mom, and it is full swing to start the season. So I just came back from a swim meet, looking a little crazy right now because of that, but we are ready to do a great show tonight. Guys, if you're watching the replay, please put replay into the comment section. I do like to go back and check to see who's watching the replay, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put it in there, and I will answer them. In the meantime, I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to jump on board while I get things started on Instagram as well. Always takes a minute there. Okay, awesome. And we are live on Instagram. Very cool. Okay, so Instagram, check. YouTube, check. Facebook, check. Hey there, Eric from Tennessee. I'll be seeing you in a couple of days, and you better get ready, man, because you're going to be put to work in that presentation I'm giving. You're going to be my patient model, man. So just get ready to work. Get ready to work. All right, guys. It is a really just hot, sticky, humid evening here in Florida. It's one of our Florida summer nights. So we've got some interesting things to talk about in terms of hacks that you can do for the beach and the pool for those of you who are water lovers. So we will go ahead and give you guys another minute or two to jump on board. Let me go ahead and just keep checking with my Instagram channel. Hey there, Jeannie. Glad to see you, girl. We've got Bejeweled ENT on board as well. We got Laura. We got the Cyborg SPT who's on board as well on the Instagram channel. We got Trey. Trey, I haven't seen you in a long time, man. It's good to see you. So I'm really glad to see those folks on my Instagram channel. Guys, Instagram, I know it's still kind of new to the Cosi Talk Show, but feel free to put any questions into the comments section there. We got La Rogel joining on board. Oye, mucho gusto de verte de nuevo, chica. One of my new friends from Guatemala. Okay, we've got, let's see, Mike Davies coming in from New York. We got Scott again with his cold water and cool weather. Scott, I am nudging you. You need to send me an update. I want to hear from you. We got Robert saying, hello, Bubbles. Timmy and I say hello. Hi there, Robert. We got Brian Bishop on board. Hopefully he's got his Bustelo with him. We got Pastor David. Good to be here, and I'm glad to see you here too. All right. And Tom, there's my Canadian boy right there. Hey there, Tom. We got Benny coming in. October 20th, we'll be in Florida running a 5K. Where are you going to be, Benny? I want to know. Curious minds want to know. Thank you for sending me all those really cool messages. I love them, by the way. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see. I'm going to be flipping back and forth between here and the Instagram channel. You've been busy, Trey. Good. I want to hear why you've been busy. All right, guys. So we will go ahead and get started. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Cosi Belloso. I'm a physical therapist here in Tampa, Florida. I've been a PT now for over 23 years. I'm losing count because that's how old I'm getting. And my passion is working with the limb loss community. So I do have a private outpatient practice here in Tampa that's exclusively for serving the amputee community. So lots going on. Like, I have not stopped this summer. It has been bonkers. And now my 4 kids have started school and swim team is in full effect. So I came running in from the swim meet. Hey there, Marianne. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad to see you, Mama. We got Harsh on board. Robert says I was the one who had the puppets at the conference. Yes, Timmy has the prosthetic. Yes. Okay. Thank you for reminding me, Robert. I met so many of you at the conference. And again, you know, your avatars are like this big, so I can't see the picture and the names are sometimes a little different. So thank you for reminding me. Bubbles. Yes, of course. I actually, Robert, funny story. I was showing my kids the pictures at the conference and they loved seeing the pictures of your puppets. So thank you again. It was such a joy getting to meet you. Let's see who else. We got a couple more people popping on for the Instagram channel. So guys, just to give you a quick overview, it's been, like I said, hugely busy summer. Got to go to Hangers and Power Fest in Fort Lauderdale at the beginning of June, I think it was. Then headed over to Guatemala for 2 weeks to work at the ROMP Range of Motion Project Clinic, where I met some really wonderful people and clinicians. One of them is on board tonight this evening. Then I got to head over to the Amputee Coalition National Conference, got to hang out with my College Park team there. Super excited. And then Friday, yeah, I have not stopped, guys. Have not stopped. Friday, I am heading to Prosthetic and Orthotic Associates. I can't speak right now. Prosthetic, Orthotic, and Associates of Tennessee. And if that sounds familiar, that's because they have been longtime supporters and sponsors of the Cosi Talk Show. So it is Ronnie Dixon's home turf. I will get to go over to Chattanooga, hang out with him and his crew on Friday and Saturday. And Saturday, I will be giving my 101 Cosi Talk series to a group of physical therapists, and also the gentleman here, Eric, on board. He's going to be my patient model. I don't know if they've told you that, Eric, but you're going to be my patient model. So congratulations to you. Poor guy doesn't know what he's getting himself into, right? So hugely busy summer, hugely busy summer. We got Johnny B from Poughkeepsie, New York in the Cosi Talks house. There he is. We got Glenn on board. Glenn, I hope you're still doing those bridging exercises I taught you. And we got Vicky here, longtime caller, first time listener. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, welcome, Vicky. I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. We got Phyllis coming in from the Instagram channel. We got Hayden, a couple more people joining in. So, okay. So guys, I didn't get a whole lot of questions. Summer tends to be a little bit slow on the show. So if those of you who are new to the show or you have a burning question, please put it into the comments section. That's what I'm here for. In the meantime, I'm going to answer the one question I got this week, and I believe it was actually from Eric. And Eric was asking, hang on, let me just remind myself. Whoops. Let me go back to that question. He says, why do most prosthetists turn the foot outward when they are aligning your leg? Is that part of natural gait? I like mine more inward to almost straight forward. So yes, it is something that I see commonly done among initial alignment with prosthetists. A lot of prosthetists will set the foot externally rotated. So your feet are kind of more or less supposed to kind of point forward. And sometimes external rotation means the foot's pointing out. I like to chuckle sometimes when I see that, and I like to tease some of my prosthetists and say that that was like a Friday afternoon alignment job that they did. And I'm playing Monday morning quarterback. But basically it's a way to keep the patient and give them a little bit more stability. So sometimes as a prosthetist, they'll fit a patient, put them in the prosthesis, and the patient's a little wibbly wobbly. So they'll, externally rotate that foot just a little bit, just to give a little bit of a wider base of support. I generally don't have a problem with that. It's something that can be corrected quite easily. But for me, I like to look at what the patient's other foot is doing. Okay. So if the other foot is also externally rotated, naturally externally rotated, then it makes sense to set the prosthetic foot externally rotated, because you'll get, balance and symmetry. If the person's other anatomical foot is not externally rotated, then I'm just sitting there going, yeah, then we really should align the prosthetic foot to mimic the anatomical foot. That's kind of my thinking. Again, a lot of times this is done to give the patient more stability, but if that patient is receiving physical therapy, right, one of the first things I will teach my patients is how to square up and how to develop a stable base of support. And part of that means bringing the feet in close together and pointing them the way they're supposed to point. Now, everybody has little anatomical differences. There are just some people that, because they have externally rotated hips and stuff going on with their femur and their knees and things like that, that their feet do not perfectly match forward. And that's fine. We work around that. Okay. But in general, the human population, the feet kind of tend to point forward, and we want the feet to kind of at least match up. Sometimes it is not something that the prosthetist did. Something may have just come loose and the foot just kind of externally rotated just a little bit on its own. Sometimes it might be something with the knee. There's a lot of things going on between the foot and the socket. So any one of those things can sometimes come just a little bit loose, and it might just have creeped out a little bit and become externally rotated. With my above the knee amputees, I also tell them to check how they're donning and doffing the prosthesis, because if they don't do it very precisely and very meticulously, that foot will externally rotate because the socket was not put on or the liner was not put on properly. So yeah, when I see someone coming in with kind of a duck foot, their foot externally rotated a little bit, I'll just kind of check to see, like, okay, did they put the prosthesis on correctly? Is the liner put on correctly? Is the patient feeling like they're twisted, or is it just, what's going on? And then kind of just trace it down to the foot to see if that's really a part of the alignment or not. And usually it's just a simple matter of giving the prosthetist a phone call and saying, hey, notice this, can we put it back? And if, or what was the reasoning behind this? And that's usually what it is. The one time I'm kind of like, yeah, I think it's good to externally rotate the foot is if you have someone who's a bilateral amputee, especially my bilateral AKs. I do think, like, yeah, let's give them a little bit of an advantage, a mechanical advantage, by externally rotating those feet, maybe just a little bit in the beginning. And then, maybe in the future, they can kind of work their way in as they become more stable. Make sense? All right, let's see what we got coming in with the comments. We got Randy coming in from San Diego. Hello there, Mark. Hey, Dzień dobry, Paul. Good to see you. Thanks for being on board. Glenn, I am glad to hear that you are doing those bridges every day. Let's see. We got Jerry Ann on board in Arizona drinking her white chocolate mocha coffee. We got Johnny B saying, I prefer my toes straight over the knee, especially when pedaling my bike. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the normal alignment for most people. Is it a valgus? No, it's not considered to be valgus. So valgus, so for example, when you have valgus of the knee, we clinicians, we got to make up all these complicated words just to describe bend and straight. That's basically what it means. So when someone has, for example, a valgus at the knee, it's, well, Bob is just not cooperating tonight, so he doesn't want to do his job of modeling. Basically, it's when the knees go in, or we call it knock-kneed. So it's when it has like the curve that goes in. And then the opposite, varus, is when it's a bow-legged, so the curve goes out. So basically, when you hear about varus and valgus in the body, it's just talking about how certain joints or certain parts of the body will curve in versus bowing out. That's all it's describing. But no, it does not necessarily have to do with the foot. When it comes to the foot, we'll refer to that as internal or external rotation. Toes in, internal rotation; toes out, external rotation of the foot. Yeah, linear is key. Ideally it is. But again, guys, the older I get, the more I realize just how unique God created each one of us. So we're all going to have our little idiosyncrasies throughout our body and our asymmetries. So a lot of times when it comes to alignment, when it comes to postural, whether it's postural alignment or alignment of the prosthesis, I've learned to just kind of observe the patient as a whole and just say, okay, what is it that I'm seeing that's considered to be abnormal or outside the norm? And is it causing a problem? Is it pathologic? Do we need to change it? And the older I get, the more I realize, like, okay, not everything has to be corrected and not everything should be corrected, right? So again, this is where the eye of a skilled prosthetist and physical therapist are valuable, because we can trace down if there's any problems going on, tracing the root of the problem and determining how it truly should be fixed. All right, let me pop over to Instagram, make sure everything is cool over there. We got a lot of people joining in on Instagram. Yay. We got Erica coming on board. We got another physical therapist, Ferris, jumping in on board. I'm glad to see my fellow PTs on board. We got quite a few of those on this evening. All right, we got Sherry coming in from Tennessee. Sherry, my darling, did you receive my email? So guys, I am giving that talk, the lecture series at the POA of Tennessee clinic over in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I am so excited to get to see and hang out with Ronnie and his crew this weekend. So if you are interested in registering, I'm pretty sure the registration is still open. If you go to my Instagram channel, you're going to see an announcement and a flyer, and there's a QR code there. So you can just click that QR code and it takes you straight to the registration. So Sherry, I did email that to you and hopefully you got it. All right. Hey there, Ronnie. What's going on, man? All right. So guys, I was at the Amputee Coalition. Oh, good. You got it. Amputee Coalition National Conference a couple of weeks back. Always love doing that event. Really great seeing folks and just learning about everything. I love getting to talk to all the different manufacturers and the companies and just to see what's new, what's hip, and what's happening. So one of the keynote speakers was a gentleman by the name of William Pike. And he was in a booth that was very close to the College Park booth. So I got a chance to hang out and talk to him a little bit. And he has a product. And guys, you typically don't see me like saying, ooh, look at this new product. But this one just caught my attention, probably because I'm a Florida girl. And a lot of people ask me lots of questions about the beach and the pool, right? How to get back to the beach and pool. And, we're in the blazing middle of summer. So guys, while I'm talking, by the way, I want you guys to put in the comment section, what are your favorite hacks for getting to the pool and the beach as an amputee? I find that this is a question that really, it's something that's asked to me a lot by a lot of patients. People want to get back to the water. So those of you who are my seasoned amputees and veterans, and you have all your wonderful tricks and tips, start putting them in the comment section. I'm going to read them out. So getting people back to the water is something I like to do. One of the big things I like to always recommend is saying, okay, what method of transportation are you doing to get there? Are you hoping to walk into the pool? Are you hoping to take off your prosthetic prosthetic leg and use your crutches or your walker to get to the edge of the pool or to the edge of the beach until you sit down. What method? So I know one of my favorite things to recommend to folks is to keep their old sockets. So, as you become an amputee, you tend to go through sockets a lot. So my recommendation is if the previous socket you had was not a terrible fit, if it was just maybe perhaps a little bit loose and that's why you had to get a new one made, save the old socket and get yourself a nice cheap water foot. I know I always like to talk about the Breeze foot from College Park. It's essentially almost like a Satch foot. It's a very, very simple, stable, sturdy foot, and it's not very expensive at all. It's very inexpensive. And it's great because it has a port at the bottom of the foot where all the water and salt and yucky stuff can drain out. So this can make just a great beach or pool foot and prosthetic to take with you to the beach and pool so that you can save your walking leg and prevent it from getting all banged up in the water. So that's kind of one of my favorite tips that I like to give. So William Pike, getting back to William Pike, has a company by the name of Pro Armor, and he developed what looks basically to be almost like a water sock. And William, if you're listening right now, if I am not representing your product properly, I do apologize, but I just thought it was a really great product and a feature. So there's apparently two of them, one called the Pro Armor Light and the Pro Armor Plus. It looks like a water sock, and I'm going to try to kind of put it closer to the camera so you guys can see what it looks like. And it looks like there's two options. So the Pro Armor Light is meant to be worn inside of your shoe. So it's almost like a very protective sock for your prosthesis, and it prevents the sand and water from getting inside. And then the Pro Armor Plus looks like it's just a heavier duty version. I don't know if I said that correctly. And you can wear it over your prosthetic foot shell. So if you decide you want to walk barefoot on the beach with your anatomical foot, this gives you the option to walk on the beach with your foot shell and protect the foot shell from getting all banged up and scratched up and full of sand and water. So it's a very simple, elegant design. It looks quite easy to put on. And I'm actually going to put the website. I cannot speak today. That would not be good for the conference I'm going to be giving this weekend, now would it? Okay. So Pro Armor. There's the website. Guys, I do apologize. Like I said, this was not one of my well put together sponsored talks. This was just, I wanted to give a shout out to this particular product because I thought it was kind of cool. I don't have the pricing, but I believe it's on the website. It says here that you can ask your prosthetist or visit pro-armor.com to order one today. So I put the website there. So, it sounds like there's a lot of sizes available, left and right variants for the Plus. It says, everything just kind of easy to use and clean, very lightweight. Deflects the water, sand, dirt, and dust and snow. So, it was really nice talking to this gentleman. So William, if you're on board, I hope I did you justice with this. But guys, check it out. And I'd love to know if you guys have ever used it or if you are going to try it out. I'd love to hear your feedback and just hear what you have to say about that particular product. All right. Any questions coming? Ooh, we got... Jeannie is saying William is the nicest guy. So excited to see you can now order directly from their site or have their prosthetist order and run through insurance. Oh, so it can be run through insurance. That's wonderful. Hey, Rob, think you can sneak onto my Instagram channel. I see you, man. It's good to see you. Brian is saying my old original foot and gear was made into an ocean leg to do waves, and I use no prosthetic in the pool. So there we go. Jeannie says my Pro Armor, so Jeannie's using this, has been a game changer walking through sand at the beach. I switched to my water leg only before taking the last few steps into the water. Mariela, it's good to see you as well. So Jeannie says it's very easy to use. Thank you for that feedback. Awesome. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, all these great comments came in. Hang on, I don't want to miss any. Stephen is asking, where should I stand on a scale to get proper weight? My scale speaks out your weight. I get 3 different weights depending on where I stand. Oh my gosh. Stephen, that's always so usually when I'm trying to help people weigh themselves, when I was working home health, I would have them put the walker over the scale. right? So the walker's not on the scale, it's just over it, and then have the person place themselves on the scale using the walker so that they can get really, really nice and stable. And then just hands off for a split second while the weight is being read. I honestly don't have an answer for that, Stephen. I would say whatever positioning you choose on the weight on the scale, just keep it the same way. So the weight may not be super accurate, but at least you'll have an accurate sense of whether you're increasing or decreasing your weight on a day-to-day basis if you just kind of keep your foot in the same position. And that's the best thing I can tell you right there. Or the other option would be, Stephen, is if you weigh yourself with the prosthesis and just make sure you have the same amount of socks and liner every day when you weigh yourself, and then just subtract the weight of the prosthesis. That would be the other way to do it. Let's see. Harsh says, I got a beach leg made from the old prosthetic device. Dulcie says, I use crutches to get around in the pool and the ocean. Harsh says, I can take out the foot cover to remove the sand. Tom says, before I got my swim leg, I used to get to the edge of the pool. 1977, Kalel. Amputee for 3 years, always been in suspension system early this week, received first pin lock check socket and love it. Always wanted to be in a pin lock, but talked out of it every time. Why is that? A lot of it is honestly, preference sometimes on the clinician's part. There's benefits, there's advantages and disadvantages to a pin lock suspension, as there is with every other suspension system out there. If you're new to the show, one of the things you'll hear me say a lot is there's no one solution that fits for everybody, right? So pin lock is used quite often. I used to have a love-hate relationship with pin lock, and I now have a little more of a love relationship for it because I do see that a lot of my patients and viewers find that it gives them a lot of freedom. So one of the benefits of it is it gives a very nice loud click, right? So it gives you that reassuring sense of my leg is on and it's not going to come flying off, right? And it's just a very easy way to get suspension in there. Some of the negative benefits that can sometimes happen is it can promote pistoning. So basically when the stump is moving up and down within the socket itself, which we do not want that to happen. But if you have a good fit on your socket and you're wearing the proper amount of socks, the pistoning should not be happening. The other thing that I personally have found frustrating with a pin lock sometimes is aiming for the little hole, right? You're trying to get in there. My earlier days as a therapist, when I was working with patients and trying to teach them, and just getting the target and getting that little pin in the hole can sometimes be a little frustrating. And especially if someone who has a hard time looking over or who has a large belly and they can't visualize very well where that pin lock is going. These things happen, right? So that's kind of sometimes what can happen there. But no, honestly, I've had many people that they were in suction suspension, they switched to pin lock, and they love it. One young gentleman I was talking to today, he's a bilateral below the knee amputee. And for him, going into pin lock was apparently a huge game changer because he is a very, very active individual. And just having no pin lock, he just kept falling out of his sockets, basically. So the pin lock is a great way for him to have that security and be very active. Let's see. Ken says, I just got a new leg that goes in the ocean and pool, and I walk right in the water, and I went with a manual knee. So far, so good. That is awesome. That's awesome. The price range. So like I said, Harsh, I'm not sure about the price range of the Pro Armor. But like I said, guys, check it out. Jeannie apparently, and I trust Jeannie's opinion. It sounds like she's having really great results with it as well. Sorry, I'm checking back to Instagram, make sure there's no questions coming in through there. See, Johnny V says, I followed up with William Pike and have my VA prosthetist ordering me his Pro Armor product. Good. So Johnny, I want you to report back to me and tell me what you think. Robert says that he saw those and they are awesome. They are. I'm like, it's a great tool because one of the biggest problems, obviously, when folks go to the pool and the beach is between the chlorinated water and the salt water and the sand, just that, how it affects your hardware. And, thankfully we do have a lot of feet and knees on the market now that are technically water resistant or waterproof to a certain depth. But you're still stuck with a leg that can be potentially full of sand. And with ocean water, guys, it gets smelly. It gets smelly and it gets really hard to clean. So it's not to say that this water sock will prevent everything from getting in, but it certainly looks like it keeps a lot of stuff out. Do I accept HSA? Is that what you're asking, Harsh? Like health savings account? Is that what you mean? Um, Sherry says, I'm going to order one from the website direct. I was given a price of $195 to order direct for the heavy duty pro armor. I can't wait to use in the ocean. So Sherry, if you don't mind, I'd love to have your input in as well. Ronnie says, I saw that from one of our reps. Pro armor is a fantastic design. I believe it has to be billed to insurance. It's a 99 code right now. Okay, well, but it's just nice to see that there's a possibility that the insurance will cover it. That's great. Johnny says, I love my pin lock. Marianne says, does a suction socket work with vascular patients? Yes, and that's something. And Ronnie, if you want to chime in on this one as well. So again, it can help with the vascular patients because it can help with the management of the fluid, the limb volume, right? So helping promote the circulation there. But as with any socket, honestly, with any vascular patient, you have to be very diligent with checking your skin and making sure that you are not getting any hot spots on the skin, especially if you have diminished sensation, meaning you cannot feel the skin on your residual limb normally. So this is something that for me, it's regardless of what socket my dysvascular patient might be using, I'm always very vigilant about that. But yes, when you think about it, with the suction, it's kind of creating that negative pressure and it's just kind of maintaining everything nice and stable in there. So it can give you those benefits. And the same thing with vacuum, elevated vacuum. Forgive me, folks. Elevated vacuum suspension systems can help with keeping that limb volume stable. Harsh says, I love the pin lock too. Emily says, I've had a hard time with clicking in my pin lock because of my swelling, but it is helpful when it does click in because I know that it won't fall off, right? And that's kind of the satisfying part. Sometimes if I see that someone's really struggling with the pin lock because they, getting that pin in there, but they would still benefit from that kind of a mechanical suspension, I sometimes make the recommendation of a lanyard system. It's a very simple system, but I kind of like it for some of my patients that are struggling with the pin lock. So Ronnie says, of course, limb movement in the socket is what provides fatigue and limb health issues if the fit isn't precise. If I was a pin lock guy for years, big on the suction and vacuum now over the last 10 years. Yeah. Yeah, and we've had lots of discussions on this show about the differences between suction and vacuum and pin lock and lanyard. Tom says, before I got my swim leg, I just used my crutches to get to the edge of the pool and then slide in. When I went to the beach, I'd sit, take my leg off, and crawl on my hands and knees in the water. Got lots of looks, but I didn't care. It worked, and good for you, Tom. When it comes to the beach and the pool, another thing I tell my patients is, take a practice run. It's a new environment. There's a lot of variables there. And, you don't want to make your first time at the pool or beach on the day that you're having like a big family reunion and beach party, right? I usually tell people because I've taken my patients to the beach. But if you're not able to go, with your therapist, taking a trusted friend who can be there with you to help you out and just to troubleshoot how you get yourself to the beach, how you get yourself into the water, how you get yourself out of the water, and the same thing with the pool. Most pools, actually all pools, are technically supposed to be ADA compliant, and they should have the chair that goes up and down into the pool. So that can be an option. And also learning your floor to stand transfers. This is where those transfer training can be really, really helpful. Because like Tom, I know many folks, when it comes to the pool, they take their crutches to the edge of the pool, sit themselves down, and then slide into the pool. Okay. But you obviously have to have the ability to get up off a floor. And that's a skill that I also think is kind of important to learn. All right, let's see what else. Can I give a brief description of a lanyard suspension? Yes, and I think, nope. Never mind. I do not have a lanyard suspension. I really need to go digging in my prosthetist offices and get some goodies here to show you guys, because I have some really archaic, this thing is a fossil. I can't even pull it out because this thing is so huge and heavy. Okay, so when it comes to the lanyard suspension, it looks like a lanyard strap. So it looks like a big, long Velcro strap, and you might see it hanging off of people's sockets sometimes. And it gets threaded through. So basically, the person puts on the line. I wish I had something. No, I have a liner, so I can at least show you the liner part of it. So the lanyard will be attached to the bottom of the liner, and it looks like, again, like just a long Velcro strap. And then the person puts the liner into the socket, and then the lanyard gets threaded through a hole outside the socket, right? And then you pull, and that pulls the liner into the socket, and then you just attach it, the lanyard, you attach the Velcro either with Velcro or like a little clip that gets attached there. I'm sorry, I wish I had better visuals, and I really do need to kind of get some more visuals. By the way, if there's any prosthetists out there listening that they just want to send me some of their old prosthetic devices that are just sitting in their dusty closet, because all prosthetists have a dusty closet full of components, feel free to reach out and message me, because I'd love to have just visuals to be able to show when I'm trying to talk about some of these things. So Ronnie, go digging in your closet. Let me know what you got. Patricia asks, any tips on going up and down stairs? Oh, I got lots of tips. Did it once in physical therapy, not since. Just once. Living in Florida, not a lot of stairs. Going to visit a friend who has multiple stairs in her home. So yes, stairs. Stair training is most certainly a skill that needs to be practiced by the amputee at physical therapy. So I'm a little disappointed that they only had you do it once in physical therapy. It's scary. I'm not going to lie, even as a physical therapist sometimes, especially when I'm teaching an above the knee amputee how to go down the stairs reciprocally, can be a little bit, put your heart in your chest a little bit, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done. We have curbs all over our community, steps all over the community, and steps are actually easier to negotiate than ramps. And I know a lot of you can echo that sentiment. So yes, it is one of the skills that I teach. The general rule of thumb, right, is the good ones go to heaven, bad ones go to hell. I'm going to tell you what that means. When you're going up the stair, you want to lead with your stronger foot. So good ones go to heaven, right? So let's say you are, Patricia, tell me, please remind me, are you a right or a left amputee? Can you put that in the comment section for me? Ronnie says, suction is a good benefit for patients with vascular conditions. Suction or elevated vacuum definitely helps keep the fluid in the limb throughout the day, like Cosi stated, providing much better limb volume management. Harsh says, pool is much easier than the beach. Oh yeah, for sure. Not impossible. Beach is not impossible, but okay. So Patricia, thank you for reminding me. So Patricia is a left AK. So Patricia, with going up the stairs, I would recommend that you go up with your right foot and then bring up your left. Go up with your right, bring up your left. Okay. When you're going down the stairs, okay, up with the good, down with the bad, right? So you lead with your bad foot. And I know you're not supposed to call it that, but the weaker foot. Okay. So when you go down the stairs, Patricia, you're actually going to lower yourself down with your left foot. So the left foot goes down first, then the right. Left foot, then the right. Okay. And if you think about it, right, as you're going down the stairs, your left foot can be placed on the next step, and your right leg is the one doing all the work, moving your body weight up and down. So that's why you want to do it in that order. Okay. Now, depending on if you have a mechanical knee versus a microprocessor knee will determine whether you can go down the steps reciprocally, meaning one foot after the other, or if you have to take the step one step at a time. Okay. But all amputees, below the knee, above the knee, bilateral, you can start off up with the good, down with the bad. Okay. And then just depending on your skill level, your strength, you can work your way up to, if you're a below the knee amputee, you can go up reciprocally, meaning one step after the other, and you can go down reciprocally, one step after the other. You might need to work on your strength, specifically your quads and your hamstrings and your glutes, to make sure that you can do this safely and in a stable way. Okay. And with my above the knees, again, going down reciprocally if you have one of those fancy microprocessor knees. But up and down the stairs, everybody can do it safely at some point. Okay. Ronnie says, you have plenty of stuff you can send me to have to use for the show. Okay, guys, he put it out there in writing. So Ronnie, guys, I'm actually going to put out my mailing address. I know it's kind of crazy to do that, but I'm going to give you my mailing address. Yeah, I'm doing this right now because this is how serious I am about getting these prosthetic parts. Okay. So Ronnie, there's the address. There's the address. And anybody who wants to send me a love note, that's where you can send it to, right there. That's my business address right there. All right. Let's see. Back to the comments. Val says, Click Medical has something similar to a lanyard that locks the socket on. Yes and no, Val. It's called a Revo lock. And hang on. Ooh, I actually have that. Wait, please hold. Here we go. That I do have because Click Medical is awesome and they send me stuff. Okay. So here's what Click Medical has. And it's kind of like a lanyard. Yes, it's kind of like a lanyard, but no, it's not like a lanyard. Okay. So if you look inside the socket, you can see that little black circle in there. And attached to it is this little cord. And I don't have the proper liner. Okay. But basically it would magnetize to here, to this, and it would pull it in. Okay. And it pulls in. And that's how it works. Very nice and simple. And it's with the dial. So that's their Revo lock system. So here, it's been a little while since I've pulled this out. So I just kind of want to show you guys again. Let me just undo it. Okay. Right. So the person attaches their liner to this little cord and then turns the dial. And then it pulls the patient in. So you might have a hard time seeing it, but it's basically pulling the cord in so that the residual limb is getting pulled into the socket. I like it because it's just really easy for the person to do, and the person can do it while they're sitting down so that they can get pulled into almost all the way into the socket just by sitting down right there. So I think there's lots of great options. Let's see. Robert says, I had to do stairs multiple times in physical therapy. I got good at it forward and backwards. Look at you. That's awesome. Marianne says, stair climbing is really scary without a railing. Yes, Marianne. And for anyone who's a bilateral above the knee amputee, yes, it is very scary. And this is something that you don't just jump in and do stairs without railings on your first day. And guys, even though I might train my patients to do the stairs without railings because life happens and they might find themselves in that kind of a situation where there's no railings. If there's a railing there, I tell people use it. It's okay to use it. I use railings, okay? Especially when I'm wearing my heels. I'm looking down and I'm using my railings. So we train people with all the different scenarios, but always choose the safest scenario. That's kind of my opinion. Plus, I've had some nasty falls on stairs, and man, I would not wish that on anybody. We got Coleman on board. Thanks for joining in. Scott says that's the same way they taught me in rehab. David says that's pretty good. I'll have to use that in my next sermon. It's funny, like that saying, up with the good, down with the bad. That saying has been around since like my mentors, one of whom is on this show right now tonight, have been, in physical therapy. So it's been around for a really long time. I always got a chuckle out of my patients when I would tell them that. Ronnie says, okay, wait, what do we got? Emily says, does a lanyard suspension stay on as well as a pin lock? I'm just afraid the prosthesis is falling off because my stability isn't good on one leg. So it's a very sturdy, it's a very sturdy suspension system, Emily. I think if you are able to get that pin lock in relatively well, stay with the pin lock. But if you're really struggling and that pin lock is just every time you put your leg on and off, you're just getting that sinking feeling that you just, good gravy, is it going to go in? Is it not going to go in? Then, ask your prosthetist and see if they can switch you to a lanyard. But yeah, I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Some people prefer lanyards, some people prefer the pin lock. But if anything, Emily, have your prosthetist show you what a lanyard system looks like. And just by looking at it, you might actually be able to say, yeah, that looks like something I'd want to try versus not so much. Oh, Ronnie, you're the best. Thank you. Ooh, that will be a nice demo piece. I appreciate that. Woohoo. All right. So Marianne says, I gave up my lanyard because my foot kept turning. And yeah, that is one of the things, is like the pin lock is probably a little bit more secure than a lanyard. So the lanyard can have the tendency sometimes to rotate out, especially if you're struggling with socket fit or in your case with limb volume management. So again, just have ask your prosthetist these questions, guys. Just start this conversation. Part of what I love about the show is how you guys can take whatever we talk about here on the show and taking it back to your own clinicians and just asking them about it and just seeing, is this something that could work for me or not? So yeah. Oh, you're welcome, William. William Pike from Pro Armor is on the Instagram channel. Hopefully he's still on there. So if there's any other questions about that. Saludos desde El Salvador. Hola, Christopher. Gracias por estar aquí, por estar con nosotros esta noche. All right, we got Dick Devers on board right now. We also got Pam the Physio is on board. Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining in on the Instagram channel. All right, Eric says, I like my socket. It's double wall and it gets nice and tight when I adjust it up top. Yeah, you got a really nice one because you have an awesome prosthetist too, Eric. Tom says, no matter what kind of experience we have going up and down the stairs, we all have to be careful because we can fall quite easily. Yes. And, you know, the older you are, the less you bounce from those kind of falls. Ask me how I know. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this evening. I have to continue to prep for my conference in Tennessee. That's on Saturday. So wish me luck. And for those of you, I hope to see some of you there. If you're interested in it, again, head over to my Instagram channel. You'll see the flyer and the QR code that I posted there. And I think that's it. Short and sweet for this evening, guys. Check out the Pro Armor website. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm very curious to know. Robert, I got to answer that. Robert, man, you knew how to catch me right back in. Robert is asking, guys, we know Robert's new to the show because he's asking, are there any options for adjusting a socket during the day besides stopping and adding or taking away socks? Oh, Robert, yes, you have come to the right place. So yes, Click Medical is a company that makes adjustable socket technology. There are different options available for adjustable socket technology. And this is one of those times where I will very rarely say that I have a preference for one over the other, but I do prefer the Click Medical RevoFit system. So this is a demo socket, Robert. This has several different options for adjustability, the gap system. There is a panel right here that I have to, right there, that I can loosen up so that you can see what's going on. Okay, so it can be loosened with the use of a panel. And now they have, these are the BOA dials. So this is the first version of what they had. Now they have something called a click reel that can adjust forward and backward. So basically your prosthetist makes the socket and then they can add the adjustability to the socket with these designs. So they get a kit from that company and that kit contains all the materials that they need to put the adjustability onto the socket. Okay. They also have something called, so the RevoFit is the adjustable socket that you see here. They have something called the Revo Surface, and that allows you to, so for example, if you have a current socket that you really like, but you just want to put adjustability or you want to see if it works for you, you can add it to your existing socket. So I really, really love the options that they have with Click Medical. And Robert, if you go onto my YouTube channel, you're going to find a plethora of videos that I've done with Click Medical talking about the socket, about the different ways that they can do adjustability. So love it, love it, love it. All right. And I think with that, guys, I really do need to sign off right now. But as always, thank you for letting me be a part of your lives this evening. And I will see you next week, same bat time.